The only thing bigger than talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers culture or lack thereof right now is their quarterback position. And one ESPN analyst believes there are two veterans who make a lot of sense. We'll see if he's right. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Streckbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast, the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's issues. There's plenty of them. And everybody wants to talk about the culture in the locker room and George Pickens and Mike Tomlin and so on and so forth. Well, ESPN wants to talk about the quarterbacks, and they have two names that they believe could be on the Pittsburgh Steelers radar this offseason. One through free agency, the other via trade. And both of them, yeah, they're a bit of a wild card. Maybe somebody's going to be into that. Maybe some people are going to say, hey, you need a vet. You need a vet with a good attitude who's going to come in here and work hard. Maybe that's what you're looking for. Then there will be some that say, nah, there are a lot of a lot of question marks that could go very wrong. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they don't really have time for things to go very wrong. Bill Barnell, ESPN's insider, names two quarterbacks. The first one, Case Keenum of the Houston Texans, that he believes they could pick up through free agency. And the other one, Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks, that he believes they could pick up via trade. This is what he has to say because he relates it all back to quarterbacks coach Mike Sullivan. Quote, quarterbacks coach Mike Sullivan served as the offensive coordinator for the Broncos in 2018, and his starter there was Case Keenum. If you haven't already noticed, Keenum has connections with just about every coaching staff in the league. He was also the offensive coordinator for the Giants during the Ben McAdoo era when the backup for Eli Manning was current Seahawks starter Geno Smith. Smith isn't a free agent, but if the Seahawks make a change at quarterback, I would wonder if the Steelers would consider trading for him. Now, there's a couple of things here, and we could talk about talent and records and where the Pittsburgh Steelers need to go, but just to lay out some cold, hard facts right from the jump here, both of these quarterbacks are above the age of 30. Geno Smith is 33. Case Keenum is 35. They both have not so great records in the NFL. In the last 32 games for the Seattle Seahawks since taking over as the starter, Smith is 16-16. He's thrown 50 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. Keenum has 79 games of experience in the NFL. He started 65 of those. He's 30-35 all time. But in the last 3 years, he's only started 3 games, and he is 3-0. So take that as you will. In the meantime, he's thrown 15,000 yards, 79 touchdowns, 49 interceptions, and he's probably going to be cheap. Meanwhile, Geno Smith, he is not going to be cheap. In 2024, his cap hit is $31 million. In 2025, that cap hit is $33.7 million, which I get compared to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and all of these other guys, and especially when Dak Prescott inks his name to a $60 million plus per year deal, $33 million will be nothing. But it's not nothing if that quarterback isn't capable of winning you a Super Bowl, and I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sit around and say Geno Smith and Case Keenum are the guys that are going to bring us to a Super Bowl. Maybe they are, maybe they are not. But if I had to guess, if I had to put myself in the eyes of Mike Tomlin and the brain of Omar Khan, I would say that right now my thoughts, my belief, my ideas are go to the NFL draft and find somebody there. And even if that doesn't mean giving up on Kenny Pickett, which I don't think it does, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sit around and say, hey, this is over. We appreciate the time. Sorry we wasted a first-round pick on you. Hopefully you get paid well somewhere else. Probably not. See you later. Hopefully you become a backup. That's not going to happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sit around. They're going to give Kenny Pickett every opportunity they possibly can to make this work. But they're going to be smart. And if the season went rocky but good enough that they landed themselves in a postseason spot and maybe won a postseason game and everything outside of the quarterback position was great and dandy and you could have blamed Matt Canada for a lot of things, I don't even think that they bring in another player that's worthy of competition. I think that they just strictly hand it to Kenny Pickett and say, we'll see what this guy can do with a better offensive coordinator. But since Canada got fired, everything is going awry. The culture, the locker room is just a tornado of wildness right now. They're going to look at the situation and they're going to say everything that needs to be fixed. This offseason is about every single thing that is wrong with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We need to fix it, or at least try to fix it. I don't believe Art Rooney is going to sit around anymore and stay quiet and say, hey, look, we'll just continue to see where we are and continue to try and climb without making much progress. And I don't think Omar Khan is going to be super happy knowing that his second full season is not a good one, and he's going to look to change that. And this is where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. So when it comes to a quarterback position, there will be competition, but they're going to give Kenny Pickett a shot. And the best way to do that is not to bring in another Mitch Trubisky. It's not to bring in a Case Keenum. It's certainly not to bring in a Geno Smith. And I don't know what you even give up for a Geno Smith, but if you're going to go trade for a 33-year-old quarterback who has a $31 million cap hit next year and a $33 million cap hit the year after, and say, well, this guy could probably take us places when he's really never taken anybody anywhere. And don't get me wrong, Geno Smith is a dude and he's a stud, and I enjoy watching Geno Smith, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I think the Seattle Seahawks made the right move in taking a shot on this guy. But I just don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers situation is the same as Seattle's. And you have an opportunity, especially if things start going negative again, and you lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, and you lose to the Seahawks, and then you lose to the Ravens, you're climbing somewhere near a top 10 pick. And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you are not sitting around saying, oh, well, what could we trade for a veteran, or who could we go sign? No, you're thinking, okay, how many players, pieces, later draft picks do we have to get rid of to maybe get a second first-round pick, or a second-round pick? Or what do we have to do to add collectively to a group of early rounders so that we could probably take a shot on a quarterback in the first, second, maybe third round of the NFL draft? That's where the Pittsburgh Steelers' mind will be. It makes a ton more sense for them, just because at that point you could have a healthy competition with Kenny Pickett. You could send both of those guys out there with Kenny holding some ground on this guy and say, hey, whoever shows out, whoever's the best, great. And honestly, I would imagine that it's not even much of a competition, that it's much like it was the year Mitch showed up, and it was, well, this is a competition, but we already told everybody that Mitch Trubisky is going to be the starter. We're just not going to announce it to the world yet. We're going to act like this is a real thing. Okay, I would imagine that's what happens this summer. And that backup is just capable enough to come in here and be a rookie and learn and grow. And if needed, if Kenny continues to struggle next season and he isn't getting the job done, you have a backup plan. It's not an ideal situation. I would imagine it leads to more struggles, and maybe things eventually get better, but you are going to waste a little bit more time if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's just the boat that they're in. They put themselves in those rocky waters, and you're not going to get out of them smoothly. It's not going to be effortless. It's not going to take one off season. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some more mistakes. But if you set yourself up correctly, those mistakes are minimal, and you don't find yourself in a situation where your backup plan, aka Kenny Pickett, isn't good enough to beat your first plan, which was Mitch Trubisky. Hopefully the next time it's your backup plan is capable of being a star in the NFL, and maybe Kenny turns into something, but if he doesn't, you're not losing too much time. That's the best and most likely the ideal and realistic situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And when it comes to Case Keenum, maybe a third guy, cool. But I don't think they're giving up anything to go get a Geno Smith worth $33 million at 33 years old, trying to go convince a 36-year-old quarterback, hey, come be our QB3 next season. Maybe you'll get some playing time. Just doesn't seem like a move the Pittsburgh Steelers, the new Pittsburgh Steelers, would make. Maybe the old Pittsburgh Steelers But these guys are going to change this offseason, and that's not going to be their mindset.